Yes, I got a haircut, okay? Yes, it looks bad, okay? Yes, I got a haircut, okay? Yes, it looks bad, okay?
What else? How to memorize a piece of music that has many notes? Well, you have to do it piece by piece, but the most important thing is you have to understand the music, because if you're just memorizing notes, that's orders of magnitude more difficult, and your brain doesn't see a reason to retain all of that information. My first professor at UTEP told me that he learned this piece, and he said it sounded like a piece of SH garbage because he learned all the notes, but he did not understand the piece. I'm sure in his later years he could understand the piece. I don't want to disparage anyone on this channel. I wish he were here so we could ask him about it further. I can see how that would easily happen with this music, especially with a younger or less experienced player, because this music is so ornate and the harmonies are so elusive and the melodies are also elusive. You have to know what the motives are and where they are and how this composer thinks. He creates these grandiose architectures. For measure 14 and 15, at first, I really struggled to memorize this. And once I saw it, it's so easy. F major, augmented. Okay, here what I'm remembering is it's a C and a C. This one goes down a third to A flat. So it's going down a third to a black key. This goes down a fourth to G flat. Right, so they're similar, but this one's a third and this one's a fourth. Now, then it's diminished. And back to major, augmented. Now here what I'm remembering is F and C. A lot of times I use the letters F and C to remember something. For example, if I need to memorize the D major scale, it has F sharp, C sharp. If I have to memorize the D flat major scale, it has F and C. So very often F and C, you'll just see them crop up. And the more pieces you learn, you'll see, there it is again, there it is again, again, F and C. So here we go, F goes to D flat, C goes to E flat. So I'm memorizing a third and a sixth, and they're both white to black. I'm sorry, that's just how I'm remembering it. So, now back to F major. Augmented. Okay, now let's talk about, do we talk about this part? Let's focus in on measure 16. The end goal is ba-bi-ba-da ba-ba-da bi-ba-da ba ba-bi-da ba-ba-da ba-bi-da ba-ba-da ba-bi-da ba-ba-da ba-bi-da ba-ba-da. Each one of these needs to have a small number of crucial attributes. One is each one needs a good impulse, and also it needs forward direction. And you also need to play through to the last note. So don't lose support halfway through. If you can play 4 notes fast, what that means is you have found the necessary positioning of the elbow for that figure. And whenever we talk about the elbow, we're necessarily also talking about the upper arm. If your upper arm is moving correctly, then the positioning of your elbow is correct. And it facilitates, playing 4 notes quickly with forward momentum, with direction to the last note with a good impulse to begin. Then you could speed it up and just do a little accelerando among the 4-note groups. That's a good intermediary step. It's slow, but a little accelerando on each group. What this does is signal to your brain, hey, the goal is play fast, move forward. If you practice it like that for a number of days, you're really going to build in this idea of playing fast. Now keep in mind, a comment like that is not going to solve everything because there's too many millions of details. Like for example, your finger must be probing. For this idea, let's visualize a bottom dweller at the bottom of an ocean or a lake. What do these guys do? They're scouring for food. They eat decaying organic matter, bits of algae, biofilm, small invertebrates. So our fingers are searching greedily for the keys like these guys. What that means is our finger is always reaching out to the next note. And if you have trained your flexors and extensors well, you can play with more life and probe the notes more. Bonus points if you can feel that your hand and forearm are behaving like a door, which opens on its hinges, hangs out for a moment before changing direction and closing. These changes of direction are one of the most guiding and helpful things as you learn passages like this. We have to move through the notes without stopping. How to achieve this? Strategic stopping. Now there's another paradox for you. What are we learning during this period? The exact positioning of the arm so that it's centered in the necessary place to facilitate each small figure within the larger figure. If you take away one thing from this video, I want you to think about don't memorize the music exactly as it is. Instead, choose parts of it or pieces of it and study that. Get really good at it. And then you can come back and add more details. So let me give you an example of this. In measure 12 and 13, I tried memorizing this all at once and it did not work. For today, I'm going to focus on this sequence of 4 3-note motives. C, C, B flat, C, C flat, B flat, B, B flat, A, B flat, B flat, A. Okay, what can we notice about that? Well, there's one whole step. A C to the B flat. Everything else is a half step. So hear the whole step, hear the half steps, and let that guide you. Also, notice we have a bookend structure here, where the first one has repeated tones, and the last one has repeated tones. So this concept of a bookend, I already have established in my neural networks. So I'm going to draw upon that prior knowledge and I'm going to apply it to this, which makes it easier to learn a new structure. Now, one more strategy here is when it comes to these shapes, we have these staggered, whatever you call that, swells. Let's call it a swell. So you have swell in the right, swell in the left, swell in the right, swell in the left. And they're overlapped, so that can be a little difficult to do. What's helping me is I'm going to focus on the first 2 notes of each motive. And I need to go ba, ba, be, ba, ba, ba. So in other words, I'm just going to play it alone. makes the job a little easier. If the first two notes of each swell are good, it's going to work. Tomorrow, I will choose a different place in the texture to focus on. Now, I'm trying to play this from memory, so what I can do is read the music, but I'm not allowed to look at that part. I'm not allowed to look at C, C, B flat. I can look at the left hand, right? I can try to remember as much as I can, but whatever I don't remember, I'm allowed to look. I'm just not allowed to look at the part that I'm memorizing for today. And that feels like a relatively easy task, right? I could memorize that in less than 5 seconds. And I think that's the level of analysis you want when you're memorizing. It should be something easy enough to memorize in 5 seconds or less. Then it feels like small, manageable steps, and eventually you will know the whole thing. And often what happens is after you've memorized it, then you see something else that you didn't see before, and you conceptualize it in an entirely different way. But that's okay. I'm having to laugh. My strategy was to isolate that one aspect and memorize it, get really good at, you want to feel it, you want to see it, you want to hear it, and the sound is really guiding you. And then my second strategy was just to focus on the first two sounds of each swell, and that will reduce my workload by quite a lot. And it targets the heart of the technique. Okay, that was horrible. Now what I can do is exaggerate. So, there's times when we want to be very emotional and expressive, and there's times when you should just be logical. Now logically, I say, I need to play that soft, now make this louder, make that softer, make that louder. And that's going to sound more disconnected from emotion, but I need that step, otherwise I'm not going to be able to create enough contrast. Now that wasn't good, but it was a step forward. Okay, so what we're aiming for is a step. Remember, we're climbing Mount Everest. I can't do it yet, but I will be able to do it. And a crucial step is being logical and making things happen that need to happen. So we need our attention to turn to You see how I did that? It wasn't perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. One secret of success, especially in learning a hard piece like this, you don't expect it to be perfect. You don't expect to do it right away. What you do expect is you expect to make mistakes. Then you expect to use those mistakes as a tool. The mistakes are a tool to move forward. You say, oh, that time I did this wrong. So I'm going to think about how I can fix that. And to be specific. If you say, oh, I'm going to try to play that better this time. No, that's not going to be good practicing. So that time I'm going to say, yeah, that was overall pretty good, but I'm going to try to do the same thing, but make it a little better. I think that counts. can vacillate between a binary approach and a more graded, a more nuanced approach. So binary would be like, see, I was thinking about points in time, and that was kind of okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. So going back to my video, Separate, Connect, this is part of the idea, is that you are building something. It's not going to be complete while you're building. They're building a new freeway over here. It's going up piece by piece, but in a few years' time, you'll be shocked at what can be achieved. Let's talk about this part that, Stephen Huff calls this the fireflies part. In measure 29, I have changed the fingering probably about 30 times for each one of these. There are good reasons why I'm choosing the fingerings. My biggest reasoning here was ease, what feels easy, and then also leverage, what gives you the most leverage. And so sometimes there's a battle between two fingering patterns, and it's like, this one is so much easier, and this one gives you really good leverage. So which one is going to win? In the end, I think ease will win out. But we really want to have something that's easy, and we also want to have fingering that gives you good leverage. So it's not an easy thing to figure out this fingering. And also the other thing that makes it hard is everyone's hand is different. So you may not come up with the same fingerings as I would. Yeah, that's really tricky. Very difficult spot. Something interesting about that is every day the fingering that I want to use is different. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think that's a good thing because it's like a battle, right? You're having a battle with yourself today and yourself tomorrow, and then on the third day you're going to see who wins. Or it could take more days than that. But this process is very fun. It's like solving a puzzle. You want to find the best fingering that really works. So notice how the way I'm playing today is very separate. I'm in the stage of just teaching my body where to go. Go here, go here, go here. And I want to maintain a free arm. I'm free. And every time I change my angle, it's with intention. Like I'm gonna move here, but I'm not doing it on accident. I'm doing it consciously with a reason. And every position that I move to, I have a prep movement, and then bam, you hit your target, and then you move in a controlled way to the next one. So everything is controlled. It looks kind of like this, where you're just placing everything. And yes, I'm thinking a lot about my fingers, but even more importantly, think about your elbow. Your elbow is a huge part of this. You see that? Can you see where my Grinch elbow goes? Bring your Grinch elbow here, bring your Grinch elbow there. that's probably going to be good. A big topic is ease, this idea of it needs to be easy. I have to try it at a fast speed and see if it's going to work. And I can play lightly and move swiftly through it. And I should feel like I'm hitting my targets. See what my elbows are doing? They have to adjust. So a common problem, like almost everybody does this, your elbow is just still. And that's never going to get you really to the place that it needs to be. And that can turn into and this is really showing me where I need to place my attention for today and for tomorrow, right? I'm paying attention to all the little problems that I'm having, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to solve those, and then tomorrow it's going to feel like a new piece. Well, it's going to feel like a different piece. Whenever you're memorizing something as complex as this, you use a great many strategies and combine them. In every piece of music that you study, there will be a list of harmonies that are obvious. And then there's some that are kind of, I think that might be G flat half diminished, I'm not quite sure. And some harmonies, what the heck is it? I have no idea. If you know the obvious harmonies, now you've just reduced the amount of information you need to memorize by brute force or via other avenues. So knowing the harmony gets you a certain place. And then what I found in Rachmaninoff is I want to isolate certain lines that he does. And he creates these sequences. It seems like there's 2 measure episodes. So like measure 12 and 13 is a 2 measure episode.
Measure 14, 15 is a 2 measure episode. Measure 16, 17 is a 2 measure episode. Measure 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 18 to 22 is a 5 measure episode. So he's got these little chunks of textures and ideas that he fleshes out. So that helps us learn it, because he's created for us, you know, learn this little thing, and learn this little thing, learn this little thing, and then you put them all together.
Okay, in this place, measure 29, Stephen Huff calls this the fireflies part. I love that imagery. One important thing is we need to think about the push and pull of your upper arm. If you've ever watched a string player closely, a really good one especially, they are either pulling on the bow or pushing. Pull, push. Those are the 2 options. It's the same for pianists. In my right arm, if I'm going higher, that is a pull of my upper arm. If I'm going lower, that's a push. You see how that works? But most people who play piano don't use any pull or push of the upper arm. It's very important. Okay, the other thing is if you are a reader, meaning you're good at reading but not so good at memorizing, that's me for sure. What you want to do is translate what you see here on the page to the keyboard as early as possible. So the best way you can do that is just to talk to yourself out loud. For example, that's F major. I have one black key. Open fifth. E flat minor with F. And then what happens? B flat minor. Now we're back to E flat minor, but it's got a seventh. Now we're back to B flat minor. So we had E flat minor, B flat minor, E flat minor with the seventh added, B flat minor. D flat major. Oh, that one's interesting. So here what I'm noticing is fourths. I've got a fourth and a fourth with a D in between. D. So I've got E flat, A flat, D flat, a D, E flat, A flat, D flat again. So this pattern is redundant. It makes me think of a bird on this one because it's this symmetrical pattern. Can you see that on the video? And of course, part of this bird pattern is I need to pull my arm back when I play the body of the bird, which is the D. So it's an arch, pull back, and a scoop. I love the way that one sounds too. When it sounds really good, that motivates you to memorize it. Ooh, now it's the D flat major, but added a 7. A flat major. I can remember A flat major. Now what's it gonna do? Cool. G flat major. G flat major is the only all black major triad. Now before we had E flat minor, that's the only all black minor triad. So that is really helpful for me to remember this music. On this B flat minor, there's no passing tones. It's just the pure harmony. Can you hear that? It has a more pure sound to it. So it's like, if you have a little passing note, a non-chord tone, it muddies the waters a little bit in a good way. We love that sound. But listen to how this is a little muddy. A little muddy. A little muddy, isn't it? Or maybe not. I don't know if that one's muddy or not. This one's not really that muddy. Now this is a pure fifth. For the perfect fifth, I always think of the word pure. Well, not always, but it sounds like a very pure interval to me. So a pure fifth, and then a pure B flat minor triad. Now it gets muddy again. That one is so interesting. I already can tell like that one is going to be one of my favorite ones. The bird, the symmetrical, the fourths. Isn't that a cool sound? flat major with a C, F minor, an old friend, E flat minor, D flat major with a G. Oh, that one's going to be easy to remember. It's C major. C flat major. Yeah. C flat major. That's a D7. D7.
Hey, my dog's on the table. Hey, pup, you want to be in the movie?